storyteller known for creating bold, mold-breaking characters such as Alex Cross, whose novels are consumed by record-breaking numbers of readers, a true testament to his skill. His impact on readers extends beyond his own publications, and in 2015, James was awarded the National Book Foundation's Literarian Award for Outstanding Service to the American literary community. Together, James and Sue have forged a legacy of philanthropy and activism in education. They fund more than 400 educational scholarships for aspiring teachers at 22 institutions of higher learning, including HBCs. They have gifted more than 650,000 books to American troops and 250,000 to public school students. They have donated millions of dollars to the school libraries and independent bookstores. Their goal through this endless giving is to make reading an accessible and enjoyable part of life for all Americans. So again, I'm honored to be here with you, James.
I started reading a lot. I was a good student, but I wasn't a big reader. And I worked my way through college at a mental hospital. I was not a patient. I was an aide. And I worked a lot of night shifts. And I just started reading everything I get my hands on. Not the kind of crap that I write, but like very serious stuff. And then I started scribbling. And my grandmother once told me that you're lucky if you find something in life that you like to do, and then it's a miracle if somebody will pay you to do it. At that point, nobody was willing to pay me to do it, but I just loved scribbling these stories. I went to graduate school at Vanderbilt, and when I was there, I took one writing course, and the professor, it was interesting because he was a really, really conservative Southern man, and I, at that point, was this hippie with the long hair and the whole ball of wax, but he really liked my writing, and he was the one that said, you know, you have it, whatever it is. I don't know what it is yet, but I have it. There's mystery, so I don't know what that means. I keep the names of all the editors who turn the book down. Sometimes they send me blurbs, they want me to blurb their, whatever. No, I would actually blurb books that they said. And now I never get any turndowns anymore. Yeah. Anything I want to write within reason. They even let me write a book with President Clinton.
That's fascinating.
Amazing.
I think we'll get to that later.
What are you? You go, I'm a writer, and they'll go, well, what have you published? And if you haven't published anything, they look at you like you're a mad person. Like, how could you consider yourself a writer if you haven't published, which is kind of crazy. That's changing a bit now because of the internet, and it's easier to kind of get something published on the internet. It might be a small readership, but it's easier. So.
And so, I mean, what's astounding is the volume of works that you have.
No, it's the quality. It's astounding. Jack's father, we have a 21-year-old. I got lucky. I have some skills. I grew up in Newburgh, New York. My father actually grew up in the Newburgh poorhouse. It was called the Pogie at the time. His mother was a charwoman there, which meant that she got to clean the kitchen and the bathrooms, and for that, she and my father got a room to live in. And that's why I believe I should be the next president of the United States. So that's where I come from. I've been poor, and I've been middle class, and then I was poor and middle class again, and now I'm rich. On balance, I prefer being rich. But I'm really happy that I passed through all of the different socioeconomic groups. I think it made me a better person. I think it made me a better writer. And I certainly don't have a big head about it. And one of the things with Jack, our son, is there's a little bit of difficulty when a parent has some fame and you have to kind of deal with that. But we've always sort of raised him to, it's not a big deal. And he's at Brown now, and in his class, and one of his friends is a Cuomo, one of his friends is a Kennedy, and they're all kind of down to earth. They don't, it's like, okay, well, I'm not Cuomo, the governor, I'm just, a daughter. And I think it's the way it should be, and ideally, you want to raise your kids that way. And even, if a kid is a star athlete, you go like, well, that's great that you're a star athlete, but so what? It's not the end of the world, so don't get a big head about it. And few months ago, I'm on an airplane, I'm walking down the aisle, and this woman, she points, she says, I know you. So I stop, hi, how are you? And she said, yeah, you played Patterson on Castle. So I'm gonna play Patterson here tonight. I went in and they had about 100 books behind me. Nobody came. And I had a girlfriend and she sat across, I kept like fake signing her book. So it's good when, people read the books. You get to pay the electric bill and things like that. It took me quite a while before I, was making any money doing it. The most important thing to me right now are actually the kids' books. That's more of a passion of mine. The notion of, I'm gonna do a commercial for, Max Einstein is a series that I studied. Actually, the Einstein estate came to me. And they said, well, actually they came to me, they came to Scholastic, and they came to Disney. And they said, we want to sort of have a shootout, but we want somebody who's going to write books about, not about Einstein per se, but that would deal with Einstein's scientific theories. And being Einstein people, they're very smart. And they said, but they have to be entertaining or kids won't read them. I said, okay, so all you have to do is write a book about Einstein's theories and make it entertaining for small children. Okay, got it. And that was really, really important to me to do as good a job as I could possibly do with those books. And that's the mission, our mission at Jimmy Books is I have a kid's imprint at Little Brown. And our mission is when a kid finishes a Jimmy book, they'll say, please give me another book, as opposed to I don't like to read. I just threw at a ball at Yankee Stadium. The pitch was a disaster, but it was great. But beforehand, I talked to, a bunch of kids came up, and almost every single one I'd say, do you read books? And they go like, or, no, what do you think of books? And they go like, oh, I don't like them that much. And it's really dispiriting to, and that just means they're not getting the kinds of books where they can go. I really enjoyed that. He said what Jim does is every single chapter moves both the plot and the characterization forward and turns on the movie projector in our heads. And I think with a lot of kinds of books that actions, what characters, what they act speaks a lot, it reveals who they are a lot more than what they say. We can say stuff, we're always saying stuff, but we don't deliver on like, oh, the poor people in Haiti or whatever, and we don't do anything. To me, well, go do something. If you really have that passion about it, do something, So I'm big on what the actions that people take. And in the kids' books, in the adult stuff, there's a lot of, detective work and, whatever, shooting. The kids' books, not so much. No serial killers, trust me. We were shooting Along Came a Spider and Kiss the Girls with Morgan Freeman. He has such confidence. Every scene, he just is confident he's going to knock it dead. 3-minute scene, he'll just walk through it. He'll never make a mistake. I remember, doing scenes with him, and Ashley Judd was a young actress, and she wasn't as experienced, and she would make a lot of mistakes. Which was understandable. He'd never make a mistake. So I think confidence is a big deal. I'm very confident now. So it's not nearly as difficult as it used to be, usually. Every once in a while I get stumped, but mostly no. And if I'm gonna get stumped, it's on the outline. In terms of actually doing it, and I encourage, anybody, any kids here, you will hear at school, do the outline, listen to them, do the outline. Don't just sit down there and start flailing. That is not the way to do it, unless you're James Joyce and you're writing Ulysses. And he wrote from an outline too. But no, you want to outline. You have to do something on cauliflower. All right, do some research. Look about, what about cauliflower? Where did it start? How do whatever. Put all your thoughts down on cauliflower. Don't like it, it's white. My mom likes it. What does my mom and dad like and I don't like it? What would be a good Western movie with the cauliflower in the top? Whatever. All the little bullet points, okay? Anything you can think of about cauliflower. Now, what's my theme about cauliflower? Well, based on all I've read and all I've been thinking about, my theme is no one should ever eat cauliflower again for the history of the planet. Okay, that's your theme. Now, okay, how do I order all of those things in terms of supporting that idea of no one on the planet should ever eat cauliflower again, or whatever? That's a terrible theme. But like that. And that's what you do now. If you outline like that, the process will be so much better. Your essay or whatever it is will be so much better. You will get an A instead of some other grade. You'll get a better grade. It will be easier. It will be more satisfying. So when your teachers or your superintendent says outline, 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 trust me, you're going to write a novel. Outline it first, please. You don't want to get to the end of your 2 years writing the novel and go, doesn't make any sense. Outline, you can tell whether it's making sense. It's a lot easier to fix 50 pages than it is to fix 400 pages. I always said, this is an unbelievable story. I mean, what this man did, and we knew 90% of it, it's in that book. I couldn't get anybody to listen. Isn't that amazing? And now all of a sudden, oh my God, it's the story of the century. Well, dudes, I mean, and I have a real problem with news organizations, just in terms of where's your imagination? How can you hear that story from somebody and not go, you're kidding? I mean, no, I'm not kidding. All this stuff really happened and it's documented. Okay, this is big. How can anybody, and then they get it and it's on every channel and it's the same footage and it's almost like the same writer wrote all of the stuff, and no, that's awful. And no wonder people are doing everything on the internet. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy TV. Yeah. But mostly it's young males, and now most of them are pretty big readers because they're in those cells somewhere between 20 and 23 hours, in a lot of cases. They read a lot. Had they been big readers when they were kids, a lot of them will not be there.
Oh, they said by 3rd grade, that's how they decide the cell number.
In Indiana and California, they would
based on 3rd grade reading.
Based on 3rd grade reading levels, they would decide how many more prison cells they needed.
Oh my goodness.
And keep soldiering on, and you just sit down and write every day. I mean, if you really love it, and you have to really, really love it, you just keep writing. And kind of when you finish a book, start another one. Don't sit there like thinking of the million things you can do to get an audience. Write another book. I mean, that's my thought on it. But it's, I think the nice thing right now is you can get it online, just in terms of getting it out there. So it's not one of these like where it's totally a hopeless situation. We don't go, oh, we don't really like movies. They're doing it wrong. It's, let's Shakespeare. You're gonna, try to teach Shakespeare to 5th graders. That's tough, man. I mean, seriously. If I had to do it, I'd stand up in the chair and say, the last thing, the way I was given it, you're like 7th, 8th grade or whatever, read 40 pages, you'll be tested tomorrow. What? Awful. But I would stand up in the chair and I'd say, look, here's what happens. In London in those days, theater was big, much bigger than movies now. Everybody went to the theater. I mean, it wasn't true around Europe. It was just pretty much London. For whatever reason, it had caught on. And the theaters were crazy, drinking and all sorts of madness. And so the actors had to really make a lot of noise to be heard and to have somebody. So I said, that's the deal. So everybody stand up on your seats, and we're going to read the first half page of Hamlet or Macbeth or whatever, but I want you to scream it at the top of your lungs. At this point, the superintendent comes in and goes, what the hell's going on in this class? Why are you making all this noise? But I want you to understand the environment for Shakespeare. Now, depending on the play, I might say, well, I'm going to talk about the history that was going on for 2 minutes here, because you need to understand a little bit about what's going on between England and France to really kind of get the play a little bit. But remember this thing. Now, the other cool thing about Shakespeare, you notice I've covered all the words with individual words and phrases. Here's the weird thing about Shakespeare. He made up all that stuff. What do you mean? He made up words? Yeah, he made up the words. Wrote, he made up that word. Now, here's the other weird thing about words, okay? Every word that you can think of, every word in every language, somebody made it up. And God didn't come down with the words. Somebody made up the word. So, and now on the internet, you're finding more people who are making up words. Just cool. You can just make up words. That's its own cool exercise. That was cool. Every month, whoever did the coolest word gets, I don't know what, a free banana outline, something. I don't know. Yeah. I guess another piece would be it's not about writing as much as it's about rewriting. But if you outline, a lot of times you don't have to do as much rewriting.
I always, by the way, you said something about storytelling, and I always tell them writing starts with storytelling when, they get stuck, just talk things out. So, good man,
For a lot of people, it really depends on what they want to write. But I really don't like them not outlining work because it's just too easy to just sit there and whatever pops into your brain. And no, that's not the way to do it, for the most part. I mean, rarely, but mostly no. I think it's vital that kids learn how to communicate, whether it's writing or, when Jack was in school, which was really great, they made the kids, I don't know, once or twice, 3 or 4 times during the year, get up in front of the whole school and speak. But you get used to it. And if you do it every year a couple of times, and, I think, teaching kids, even if it's just in front of the class, it's vital that kids can get up. And once again, outlining is really helpful, even if they have to use notes. Okay, that's okay. We'll try to get rid of that crutch along the way. But I think it's more important they learn how to communicate, whether it's verbally or writing and if they do it with drawing and art, okay, but now let's try to take that somewhere else too. If we communicated mainly with drawing instead of verbally, I would be like in a home for the insane because it's not there.